Welcome back, folks, to my garage winery, and today's a really big and exciting day. This is the day that we're going to analyze the must of the free run juice. So we've got 85 liters of free run juice, and then if all is well, we're going to start the fermentation. So there's a lot of analytical work, there's a lot of pump work, potentially filter work, I haven't decided yet, and we need to get started. So yeah, join me on my garage winery. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is just check the must that's now been sitting for a couple days at 5 degrees Celsius. I'm going to check it for pH, for sugar content, and then for total acidity as well. So to do the total acidity check, I'm going to go back to first year university or last year of high school as well, where you do a good old titration. So all of this learning has finally come to fruition here in my garage winery. So what I've done, I sat down and started to draw out the concentrations that I want for the titration. So the first thing is I'm using KOH beads. Normally when you read text on this, they use sodium hydroxide. I'm using potassium hydroxide. The reason for potassium is A, I can get my hands on potassium hydroxide, and B, it comes in pellet form, so it's easier for me to work with personally. That being said, you can use sodium hydroxide as well. It doesn't matter. So first thing I've done, I'll turn this around. Hopefully you can see. If not, you'll just have to take it on faith, is that we need to calculate the molarity of our KOH in this case. And the books that I have been reading have stated that you should use a 0.1 molar solution. So that's pretty easy. So all I need to do is arrange the equation of number of moles over volume equals molarity. Number of moles then equals molarity times volume. We want a 0.1 mole per liter concentration multiplied by a 0.250 liter volume, and that's because I'm using, if you can see here, a volumetric flask. So this flask is really straightforward. You just add or bulk it up until the water, the meniscus of the water, is at this little line here, and you know you've got 250 mils. Right, so I calculated that out to 0.025 mole. And then we just need to find out from that, so that's the number of moles, so then we need to get the mass. How much KOH do we want to, or do we need to weigh out? That's easy. So number of moles equals mass over molecular weight. Mass equals number of moles times the molecular weight, which equals 0.025 mole, which we got from up here, multiplied by the molecular weight of KOH, which is 56.11 grams per mole. Multiply that through, and I come to 1.40 grams of KOH. So I've massed that out already, and I'm just going to add it to my volumetric flask, and I want to get that in there ASAP because KOH will start to wet as the moisture in the air lands on it, basically. So I always generate a paper funnel when I'm trying to load anything with a narrow mouth on it. So here I've just generated a little paper funnel, and in fact I've made a weigh boat of paper as well for my KOH pellets. So in they go before they start to really wet, and it might be a bit of a fight now to get them all in. Let's give them a good old knock here. KOH being really good and nasty. There we go. I don't recommend touching them with your finger or anything like that. So, okay, and boom. So normally I wouldn't wait around letting the KOH wet. I just mass it out, and then boom, it goes right into the flask. And you can see already it's well wetted because I've washed the flask out. Now I need to bulk this stock solution up to the line, which you might be able to see here, making sure that everything's dissolved. So I happen to have a pure water source here in the kitchen, so I'm going to start doing the bulk up, but I'm not going to add the full amount of water yet. Now you probably remember this from chemistry class. There we go. I'll go about half full, because 1.4 grams of KOH in you know, 150 to 200 mils of water isn't very much, and it will dissolve pretty quick. So you fill it about half full, maybe a touch more, and then make sure your finger's on the cover, flip it over, and then you use the bubbles and the motion to dissolve it. And you're always going back and forth, just like that, up and down, and you can see it's gone right away. Now I'm going to very carefully bulk to the line. Let's see. And you want to read the bottom of the meniscus will be at the line. Okay, so I've got to, you won't be able to see this, but I got to drop my head right down so that I am eye level with that line. Here we go. And I know you're not seeing very much there, but bear with me. Couple more drops, boom. There we go, I'm now spot on with the bottom of the meniscus to the line, and now it's just a matter of inverting, shaking, and mixing. Awesome, so now I've got a 0.1 molar solution of KOH. Alright, so I'm going to run a series of tests now on the must just to double check all the numbers. And of course I'm keeping track of everything in the lab book, and I recommend you have a little notebook to keep track of stuff as well. So I've already turned my cooler off in the garage, so the must is slowly warming from about 5 degrees Celsius to ambient temperature out there, which at the moment is about 17 or 18 degrees Celsius, so it's quite cool. Remember, I am sat here in Liverpool, and it's fairly, it was a bit sunny, but it's now overcast, and it's getting back to seasonal temperatures here for September. So the first thing I want to do is just have a taste of the must, a smell of it, a taste of it, the mouth feel of it, and what I'm looking for is going beyond the sugar, because the sugar right now is going to be overpowering. If you're not used to tasting very highly sugared drinks, a lot of times you just taste the sugar then and you can't taste anything else, and that's the way I am as well, so I really have to fight through it. So I'm going to take a nice big smell first, see if there's any aromatics coming off. Now this is Trebbiano, so you don't get much aromatic from this grape, and then take it into my mouth, swish it around for mouthfeel, and then I'm going to suck air into it like slurping, just to get it distributed everywhere, get it aerated, and see if I can pick out some more tones in it. So So it looks a little bit weird and pretentious when you do that, but it really does help. The acid is just cutting like a knife. Wow. The sugar, you can taste it right away, so you get that raisiny sugar taste. But after the swallow as well, then you get the coating of the other flavors. And right away, I'm picking up peach. Mega peach. That is gorgeous. So Trebbiano is well known for its stone fruit taste and aroma as well. I'm clearly picking up the stone fruit in the mouth. That is phenomenal, because that's going to come through in the wine as well. I'm really excited about that. Other than that, I think it's got quite a it's high in acid, so low in pH. And we'll test and see if the sugar's there, but I reckon it will be. All right, so take the temperature of the must. Yeah, we're at 18 degrees. Normally you want to run these tests around at 20. That's what all my equipment's calibrated at. So we got a couple more degrees to warm up. That's okay though. I'm going to pull out my handy pH meter. I love this one. It's easy to calibrate. I bought it off of Amazon, and it comes with the buffer solutions to calibrate the pH meter, and then I'm just going to run it under my pure water just to rinse off anything that shouldn't be there. gorgeous. Give it a little shake. On it goes. It's got a built-in thermometer as well, so I can get a feel for the temperature, and it's reading exactly what this is reading, so that's good news. I'll just double check it. 17.6 and 17.5 on this, so that's a pretty nice indication that they're you know, within reason. Obviously, thermometers, you have to be really careful with them because they're just not calibrated. So even in science, when you publish something with temperature, if you're in, say, the field of chemistry, for example, a lot of times you just say the thermometers are uncalibrated. Okay, and you go from there, because they're always going to be off a little bit. Anyway, it's not very important, isn't it? Is it? So let's go back to pH and have a check. Just going to have it sit around for a while. In it goes, and down it goes now, and it's dropping, 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 so I'll give it a few minutes just to equilibrate, but we're looking at about 3.2 to 3.3, somewhere in that range, and that's jolly good for white wine. So I usually let the pH meter sit in there for a good minute or so, just to equilibrate so it's not bouncing around on me. Yeah, and it's still going down. So, and in fact, to be honest, I want it to go down. I'd like it to be just a touch lower, because I reckon we're in this for Trebbiano. We're in the sweet spot. I don't want it super acidic, but it needs to be right in that region of 3.25 to 3.35, somewhere in there, and I'm just at 3.35 now, so it's to the point where I don't need to treat the must with tartaric acid or some other acid. I would only use tartaric acid though anyway, but I'm not going to have to treat that. That's fine. So I'm going to record it as 3.35. Now this pH meter was calibrated a couple days ago, so you know it might be slightly out as well, but 3.35 is fine. I don't think I have a problem with that, so I'll just record it as such. It is a little bit cold still. Yeah, and that's at 18. Okay, so I think it will be fine. That's good. The next thing is the hydrometer reading. Got this all cleaned out and ready to go. Let's get the excess water out of this. That's the thing with plastic, is it wets, so you get beads of water on it. Let's try and get a really accurate hydrometer reading now. If anything's settled out, now the juice is quite settled. It looks really, really clear. With respect to the process, so I am going to try and pour off the top though, just to get even less suspension in it. When you take a hydrometer reading, you want to make sure it's clear of particulate, suspended particles, etc. if possible. This is pretty darn good. I'm going to stop there and see if that's enough. Right, so hydrometer. Hopefully you can see, if not I apologize. In it goes. I'll let it bob for a second. I'm going to give it a nice spin. That'll break any weird surface tension that might be holding it up, and we'll have a look. And it hasn't changed. In my viewpoint it hasn't changed, but I want to be careful. Get it absolutely accurate here, right at 1.1. So there's been no change really with that. So specific gravity 1.100. That's going to give us an 11.5% wine, I believe. I'll have to check my numbers on that. And that is right where Trebbiano falls. Okay, so they're a little bit lower in sugar content. If you get a bottle of Trebbiano in the shop, you're going to get it at 11.5 typically. So that's fine. Good.